Right, we are well into stocks and shares ISA season, and I want to make sure that you are as fully equipped to start your investment journey as you possibly can be. I want to go over the best questions that I had in my last video. I want to cover them, go over the detail, and if you've got any others, please drop them below. So let's get straight into it. Question number one. This one comes from Michael Claridge. Neil, I'm a newbie and keen to learn. Apologies if this is a daft question. If one had more than £85,000 to invest, is it best to share this across other brokers for FCS protection purposes, i.e. max out the £85,000 in trading 2 and 2, then move to InvestEngine or Vanguard? Many thanks in advance. So I get this question a lot, a hell of a lot. It's one of the most questions I get, and it is around how safe is the platform that you're investing into. Well, the way it works is the £85,000 protection that you have is on any cash that you have. So it works for banks, it works for platforms, for brokers. So if you have £85,000 in cash on the platform, this will be protected and you will get it back from the FSCS. The FSCS then are accountable to the FCA, and the way it works is that these financial institutions need to pay a certain amount to the FSCS, and then if any of them go bust, that cash, that pot is there, and they can pay people out to the value of £85,000 in cash. So your cash, if you're going to hold cash in your broker, don't hold any more than 85k if you want that level of protection. Now your investments are slightly different. So your funds and your stocks, so your funds, will start with that. If you invest into Vanguard, for example, and you put £10,000 into VUSA, into Vanguard, you have £10,000 in VUSA, irrespective of what happens to that broker. So if that broker goes bust, you still own £10,000 worth of VUSA. Now, it may take some time to get back, and the regulator will work through that. There hasn't been really loads of examples of this happening in the past, in all honesty. But if you are concerned about it, it's just good to know that it doesn't matter if you have £10,000, £1 million in Vanguard, it is in Vanguard. It's not on the broker. So the broker is very different to the investment vehicle. So also for stocks, individual shares, if you've got £100,000 in Apple, you still own £100,000 of Apple, whether that broker goes bust or not. So there is a level of protection there. It means that I feel relatively comfortable going above that threshold. So for trading 2 and 2 next year, I will go above that threshold and I'm not too worried. So there was a recent example with Orca, who was a small platform that existed a couple of years ago. I held some shares with them. They went under, and what they did for me is they just sold down all my positions. I then took the cash out and there was no issue whatsoever. But, you know, it's different. There hasn't been loads of examples of this, so it could be different in future situations. So next question, Chris Sutton, Chelsea striker. Thanks, Neil. I've recently started trading using trading 2 and 2 and invest directly into VUSA monthly. What I need to do is open a trading 2 and 2 ISA and then invest in VUSA through the ISA, so benefits from the tax-free investment returns, correct? Can I move my portfolio fund into the ISA? Cheers, buddy. So if you want to move all of your investments from a general invest account, so trading 2 and 2 is the example you have here. I have a general investing account with trading 2 and 2. If I want to move all of those holdings into my trading 2 and 2 ISA, you can't transfer those holdings. What you'll need to do, if you have, so you've got VUSA, so if you have £10,000 in VUSA, you'll need to sell that down. You can then transfer the money across, so I have done this before, transfer that £10,000 into the ISA, then you'll need to buy £10,000 worth of VUSA again. So you can't transfer them across. So when I had my general investment account before with trading 2 and 2, I had about 6 or 7 grand in there. Then when I decided to open the ISA, I had to sell everything down, move it across, and rebuy it. That's the way it works. Next question then is from Jacqueline Paul. Thanks, Jacqueline. I don't understand how you have to pay tax on a gamble. What would happen if the day you were to pay the inland revenue, the stock crashed? Or if you lose next year, can you get a rebate? It's ridiculous. Don't know any way around this. Well, the easiest way around this is not to invest in a general investment account. It's to always use an ISA. Then it doesn't matter what your stock does. It could 10x. You could put £20,000 into an ISA. It could be worth 2 million by the next year. And that then is completely tax-free. Every single gain that you've made is completely tax-free. So in an ISA, you don't need to worry about it. If you are going to invest outside of an ISA, then any losses that you realize, that you sell off and make a reality, those are tax deductible. And they can be tax deductible a number of years back. So if you have made a £20,000 loss on a stock, you can rebate the tax on that. That's if you're doing it again outside of an ISA, but why you'd want to, I don't know. Next question is from Joshua. Do you pay withholding tax on your ETFs? So withholding tax, for those that haven't heard of it before, it's a 15% tax that you pay on the dividends that you receive from US businesses. So for example, if I was to buy £100 of Starbucks, and Starbucks had a dividend at 10%, and they paid me a £10 dividend. £1.50 of that, 15%, quite a lot in reality. 15% of that will get taken out before I even see it, and I'll end up with £8.50. So it all happens in the background. You don't need to worry about the admin. The key thing here is that you're paying an additional tax, which is quite a considerable tax. Now, for individual stocks, it's very straightforward. If it's a US business, you're going to pay withholding tax. For funds, so long as you can make sure those funds are domiciled in the UK, in Ireland, and Luxembourg for some reason, I don't know why. If they're in one of those three countries, you will not pay any withholding tax. So when you are looking to buy funds, so if you buy Vanguard funds, for example, the ones that we can get in the UK, they're based in Ireland, so it makes it straightforward. BlackRock funds are based in Ireland, a lot of them. So make sure that when you are buying those funds, you're just checking where they're based. Best way to get around it, basically. Make sure that the UK, Ireland, or Luxembourg funds, and you won't pay any withholding tax. And in reality, you're going to get exposure to everywhere you'd want to by doing that. You don't really need to be buying any US funds. Next question is user loads of letters. Hi Neil, I'm new to investment world and just opened a trading 212 ISA stocks and shares account. My portfolio is index funds only. I have about 6 funds in all. My question is, how much index funds should you have, and will 6 funds cost me a lot in fund fees? Tricky one. My question is, how much index funds should you have? Well, how many index funds should you have? Well, you can just have one. You can have the whole world covered in one fund. And actually, that's probably, for 90% of people, the best thing to do. So my biggest 2 holdings are in the S&P 500 and in the Invesco All World, because those are 2 very cheap ways of getting exposure across the world. Now that there's some crossover on those, but I'm not concerned about it. It depends what the 6 funds are. I don't know what they are. You haven't listed them out here, but if they are covering the world, then it's a good place to start. So basically, you want exposure and diversification across the world. If you've got one in AI, one in robotics, one in healthcare, or whatever it is, and they're very niche and very specific, that might not be giving you the diversification that you need. Now, to the second point, are you going to pay more fees? Well, it doesn't matter how many funds you hold. Each fund has a different fee, of course, but if you're holding all Vanguard funds, for example, they're cheap. Typically, the funds that you can get on UK brokers are all cheap. We're talking anything from 0.07% to 0.29% in that sort of region. So if you hold 6 of those and you have £100 in each, it's the same as holding one of them and having £600 across. So it doesn't really make no difference in terms of fees. It's not going to cost you more unless you are buying really expensive funds. The fact that you've got 6, you're calling yourself a newbie, probably the best thing to do is look to, again, not financial advice, is to look to just have an all world, because it's going to simplify everything for you. Next question. Good video. I've been listening to you since 2022 October. I just made 20k profit from Rolls Royce. Yes, my man. Good man. Wish I had the balls to put more into it when I did. We always say that, don't we, when something flies. I've just made 20k profit from Rolls Royce, and now I pulled it out and created a pie and investing £400 a month for hopefully 15 years. Would you give any advice on any companies in particular to put in? The companies I put are mostly British companies. Well done on those gains. Fantastic to hear. Hopefully you watched a couple of my videos on Rolls Royce and it helped you to put yourself in a position where you considered investing into them. Now, what companies should I invest? Should you invest in? Did I recommend? Never going to recommend any companies to invest in, I'm afraid. It is against FCA rules. I can get in all sorts of trouble. Also, I don't know your circumstances. Also, what happens if I tell you a company and it crashes and it goes bust? You're going to be pretty annoyed at me. So I'm not going to be telling you any companies. What you can do is there's a link in my bio actually for Seeking Alpha. So Seeking Alpha is one of the best analytics platform there is out there. It's not the cheapest, but the picks that they have typically do tend to beat the market. So if you want to use that below, you'll get a discount by using that. Sign up with those guys and you might be able to find yourself some winners. Next question, great video. Let's assume someone wins 100k in the lottery. Would it be a good strategy to keep this money in a normal savings account, not locked in a bond, then just put 20k per year into a stocks and shares ISA for the next 5 years? Now, this is a bloody corker. Well done. So if I had 100k right now, absolutely first thing I would do is put 20k into stocks and shares ISA. Then I would probably, the most sensible thing to do, the most fiscal thing to do, it's a bit boring, is max out your pension contribution. So you can put up to, it's different for everyone, but most people can put around £60,000 into their pension. So then you get all sorts of tax relief as a result of doing that, and it locks it away for the next, well, for me, it'll be 17 years until I'm 57. I don't know how old you are. So the most fiscally responsible thing to do would probably be to max out your pension beyond that. Outside of that, you are going to be losing on, so waiting 5 years on the last £20,000, for example, you could potentially lose out on massive amounts of gains in the market by doing that. Who knows? It might go down, it might go up, but typically I think it is 72% of the time all world funds will go up. So 72% of the time they're going to go up. So you are missing out on that potential opportunity by not investing now. So it's up to you. You can max out your pension. Another thing to do is you can go into a general investment account, or you can look at the likes of premium bonds, or you can look at the likes of a really high interest account, which is what you said here. Put it into a high interest account and just take that guaranteed 5%. But again, you're going to pay tax on that over a certain threshold. So fiscally responsible, max out your pension. What I would do is I put it into a general investment account and just take the hit on the tax, because it's not going to be that much. If I then don't earn any money in following years to be able to afford to put any more into my ISAs, I would then sell it out and put it into the ISAs. So it's over the time, it's sort of netting it out. But really good question. Thank you for that. Be interesting to get other people's thoughts on that if anyone else has another view on it. Right, last question. Malcolm Burkett. Thanks for the comment, bud. I see your name a few times up in the video, so appreciate the support. I use Hargreaves Lansdowne, but now we can get 2 different ISA providers. I'm going to try trading 2 and 2 from April. So yes, from April, we're potentially going to be able to put into 2 different brokers in a given year. So it does get slightly complicated in terms of this new British ISA that's been mentioned. It looks like they're not going to allow you to invest into different ISAs in that because of the complexity around it. They haven't been completely clear in their document, but from next year you will be able to use a number of different ISAs, which is great. Great because as a consumer, it's good to have different products, but also it helps to drive the price down. The more competition there is, the more people spreading their wealth across these brokers, it creates that competitive nature that hopefully pushes the price down on some of these platforms, because cheaper the better for us. Right, listen, I want to do as many questions as possible in these sort of videos. So if you have anything else that I haven't covered that you want me to go over, just drop a comment below and let me know, and I will do a part 2 if we get enough interesting questions. All right, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Good to see you again.